Hello, everyone, and welcome to Eat to Treat. We are a nonprofit that aims to end health disparities. We're doing that right now by doing these live cook along cooking demonstrations. I'm Amaris Williams, I'm the board president. I have a PhD in nutrition, and I like to cook and I like to eat. So let's get started with our recipe for today, which is Texas Caviar. It's a basically like a salad, kind of like pico de gallo. It was started by a woman who wanted some more fancy and fun way to eat black-eyed peas for New Year's. So keep this in your back pocket for New Year's Day instead of boiling them in salt water for 2 hours. Try this recipe instead with more vegetables, more fiber, and more color and more flavor. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing is we're gonna make some garlic oil, and let me show you where I got the idea for that from. I got that idea from this book, Afro Vegan by Bryant Terry. He has a recipe for Texas caviar in that book. We're not following that recipe exactly, but we are going to um, use his idea to make garlic oil. So the first thing we need for garlic oil is some oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil, and I'm going to use a half a cup of that. So the reason why I normally when I cook, you'll notice that I use regular olive oil. Today I'm using extra virgin olive oil because we're going to be cooking this on a very low temperature, and we're not going to let it rise high enough to destroy the flavor of extra virgin olive oil. So olive oil, regular olive oil, not extra virgin, but regular olive oil is good because it's heart healthy, has all the heart health benefits as extra virgin olive oil, but it its flavor won't be ruined by high heat temperature, and it has a very high smoke point. So that's why I use that most of the time. Okay, so garlic. Garlic oil, we need oil and we need garlic. So um, if you're using bulb garlic, what you want to do is take your garlic pieces and break off your garlic cloves, lay them on your cutting board, put your knife on top with the blade facing away from you, and just smash it like that. And when you do that, it makes it much easier for the peel to come off. And the peel comes off in one piece and you just throw it away. But I'm not going to spend time doing that. I have this garlic that's already peeled that you can buy from most grocery stores. Kroger sells the kind where the garlic peels are individually shrink wrapped. Not individually, but like 6 or 7 of them together are shrink wrapped. And that lets them keep longer. So you just pull out one shrink wrapped package at a time. I think that's a good way to go. So I just got some garlic cloves here. I think the recipe says 8 large garlic cloves, but use as much garlic as you want. And I'm just going to slice it. Keeping my fingers curled under as usual. Just gonna run my knife through it one time. And then once I've got my slices, I'm going to put the slices in the oil. And I'm going to turn the oil on to a 4 out of 10. Okay? And then once it starts sizzling, I'm going to turn that down to a 3 out of 10. So this is going to be very low heat for pretty much the whole time we're cutting up everything else that's going to go into this Texas caviar. All right. And this doesn't have to be pretty because no one's going to see these pieces of garlic. We're going to strain the oil I've got a small sieve. I think I put that on the equipment list. I'm pretty sure I did. And we're going to use that to strain the oil, and we're going to put the garlic in the compost. So no one's going to see these pieces, so it doesn't have to be pretty. Just get them in there. Cut them up and get them in there. All right. And that's ready to go. Now, next thing is to start cutting up produce. You need a large bowl to make your salad in. And the first thing is we want about 1.5 cups of tomato. I'm going to start with this half a tomato that I have in my fridge that I used when I made this. Maybe the other half when I made this before. Saved it. My cat does not like that sound. She went running off. Okay. So all I'm going to do with the tomato is, this one's already cut in half, so I've got a nice flat surface. It's not going to run away from me while I'm trying to cut it. And fingers curled under, I'm just going to slice it one way. Then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and slice it the other way. And when I was cutting the first half of this tomato, I realized my knife needed some attention, so I sharpened it, and now it's performing very well. So just, if your knife isn't going through your tomato and it's just kind of mushing it, you might need to sharpen it. Okay, my garlic is sizzling, so I'm going to turn it down to a 3, and I might turn it down more than that if it seems like it's going too fast. But like I said, we want about 1.5 cups of tomato. This is a 1/2 cup measure, so I'm going to fill this up 3 times. All right, I put in the recipe, I put 2 medium tomatoes, and that should be more than enough to get you 1.5 cups of tomatoes. So I'm just slicing all the tomato one way, and then I'll turn it on its 90 degrees and slice it the other way. Gotta be careful not to get my fingers with my newly sharpened knife. All right. So it's about a 1/2 cup. Another 1/2 cup. So 1 cup. So I only use about 1.5 tomatoes to get 1.5 cups of diced tomato. All right. Next up is bell pepper. Now, we've cut a bell pepper on this channel before, but in case you missed it, bell pepper is like a box with seeds in the middle. We don't want the seeds. I'm going to turn my my garlic down to 2.5. I think it's going a little bit too much. Anyway, so the bell pepper is like a box with seeds in it, and we want the cardboard of the box. We don't want the contents of the box. So we're just going to cut along the sides until we get all the cardboard, all the flesh of the box off of the seeds. So, just like that. Keeping your fingers out of the way as usual. Cut off the sides of the bell pepper. And you should be left with something that looks like this. And that's the seeds. And we can just go ahead and put that in the compost. And the bell pepper, I'm going to cut the same way I cut the tomatoes. I'm going to slice it one direction, turn it, and then slice it the other direction. I'm not a big fan of the flavor of bell pepper, like big pieces of bell pepper by itself. I prefer my bell pepper to be in very small pieces and like the flavor to be mixed in with other flavors. So I'm just going to cut it small so that I don't get a big piece of bell pepper. And any color bell pepper is fine, but I like the orange or the yellow to go with the red tomatoes and the green cilantro that we're going to put in here. I think it brings out the colors. All right, small slices. I hope everyone has good plans for their Juneteenth holiday, that everyone's going to get that off, hopefully. Unless you're an Amazon driver. Because I know I have some packages that are going to be delivered on Monday. All right, last piece. Next up, if you're working along with me, all right, probably could turn the garlic down to a 2, but I think I'm gonna leave it at 2.5. Should be fine. Next up is an onion. Like the tomato, I have a half onion from the last time I made this. Looks like it's still in good condition. It's starting to grow a little bit in the refrigerator, but that's what onions do. So I've got half an onion here. I'm going to show you how to dice an onion. We don't want to just slice it and then turn it and slice it again, because onions have so many layers that when you do that, they'll slide and fall apart, and it makes it easier for you to cut yourself. So when you cut your onion in half, make sure you have the root end still attached. So there's the stem end, and that's the part that's growing here. But there's the root end, and you want to cut through the stem and the root so that you have the root intact, because the root is what holds the onion together, the layers of the onion together, so that they don't slide around on you. Then I'm going to cut, I guess this would be parallel to the direction that you cut before. So this is cutting from the stem to the root along that axis. And we're going to make slices without cutting all the way through the onion. So you can still see the onion is one piece, but I have made slices along the axis of the root and the stem. Then I'm going to make slices again, but this time parallel to the board. So horizontally, I'm going to just slide the knife, but not without going all the way through. Slide the knife most of the way through the onion. And be careful not to get your fingers when you do that. All right, and finally, I'm going to slice the onion. And then, as you can see when I do that, all these little dice just fall out. And that is what we're going for. An intact onion till the point that it's time to slice it and cut off all the dice that we've made. All right? So now we have a diced onion. And as you can see, my garlic is brown, so I'm going to turn off the heat. And that's it. That's the garlic oil. We've made garlic oil. We just put some garlic in some oil and heat it till the garlic starts turning brown and crispy. Garlic oil complete. All right. Onions in the bowl with the tomatoes and the bell pepper. Next up is the jalapeno. This is not going to make the caviar spicy. Just going to give it a little flavor. Cut the stem off the jalapeno and then cut it in half lengthwise. And then I find it easiest to cut it in half lengthwise again. Then you can take the tip of your knife and get in between the seeds and the flesh of the jalapeno and seed it that way. And now we have a seeded jalapeno. I'm going to do the same thing with this quarter. Just get my knife in there and push it away from me and put the seeds in the compost. And I'll just do it with these two. All right. All right, so most of the seeds are in the compost. And now I'm just going to slice this up. And it'll be kind of difficult to turn it and slice it again, so I'm just going to use the curve. The knife blade has a curve to it. I'm going to use that curve to rock the blade through the jalapeno. So with my hand on top, just rocking the knife through the jalapeno. Okay? And just do it until you have small enough pieces to where you're comfortable. If you don't like hot pepper, you probably want smaller pieces than someone who doesn't mind getting a little piece of raw jalapeno in their in a bite. But I think the jalapeno just adds flavor. It's not spicy enough. It's not a habanero, you know, it's not spicy enough to really add that much kick from my perspective. So, but everyone's different, so do what makes you feel the most comfortable. If you do want it spicy, add another jalapeno or switch out the jalapeno and use a habanero. All right? And then the last thing is I'm going to put about half a bunch of cilantro in there. And this is also another matter of personal preference. Not everyone likes cilantro. You can use parsley instead, or you can just omit it. Whatever you prefer. All right, so I'm just going to put that much in there. And I will wrap my knife through the cilantro like I did the jalapeno. And toss that in the bowl. And that's about it for cutting things up. I think we will have to cut a lemon in half, but that's about it. We're done chopping. So next up is to make let's put the black-eyed peas in there. And I got two kinds. This one came from Whole Foods. This one came from Walmart. The only difference is this one has more salt in it. And this one also has EDTA for color retention. So it's got a few more additives. But this is not organic. It came from Whole Foods, but it's not organic. It's just regular black-eyed peas. And it does have salt in it. It does have salt. But the Goya has a little bit more. All right. And actually, the Whole Foods black-eyed peas were cheaper by about 40 cents per can. So that goes to show you. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drain into my trash bowl here. I'm just going to drain the beans. And then I'll take some fresh water and pour it in here Now, if you have a sink, obviously you can use a sink, but this is just my table. So, just gonna rinse the beans with what I have available to me and then dump them in the bowl. All right, and then this one I don't need a can opener for. Maybe that's why this one was 40 cents more. You're paying to not have to buy a can opener. All right, drain it. And rinse them. Swirly, swirly. And this will help decrease the salt content a little bit. Obviously, if you put the whole brine plus the beans in the salad, one, that'd be a lot of liquid, but two, that would be all the salt that's in the jar. But it doesn't remove all the salt that they added to the beans, because some of the salt will have diffused into the beans themselves, and that's not going to be removed by rinsing. So if you can find beans that are canned without salt, definitely go for that. But if not, then just use what you got. And we won't add that much salt to this. This is actually quite a bit of salad here. And the salt that we add is not going to be that much. But we are going to add some salt because we want this to be delicious. All right. And as you can see, the colors of this are just simply amazing. The orange bell pepper, red tomato. We got a little green from the cilantro, the onion, and then, of course, the beans. So it looks very attractive, but let's make it taste great by making a vinaigrette. So, for the vinaigrette, we want 2 tablespoons of vinegar. Any vinegar of your choice. I'm going to be using apple cider vinegar. Just nothing special. Kroger brand, El Cheapo apple cider vinegar. 2 tablespoons. And we want 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And I think I've shown you guys this before, but when you have citrus and you want to juice it, just roll it under the heel of your hand first a few times to kind of loosen things up in there. And then slice it in half. Finally, this is a reamer. This one's made out of bamboo, but you can get them plastic or whatever. And you just use it to juice citrus. They have some that are automatic, like this is a manual one, obviously, but they have them where they're electric and they'll juice the citrus for you. But I find that this works just fine. All right. And I didn't measure that, but that was about 2 tablespoons. This is a half a lemon. Got me where I needed to be. This is a pretty big juicy lemon. So next up, we want to add our garlic oil. Because this is a vinaigrette, we need vinegar and oil. So I'm just going to use my sieve and pour the oil into the bowl, leaving the garlic behind. And I'll just put the garlic in my compost. And now you can put all this stuff in a jar and shake it, but I'm going to use a bowl and a whisk. Kind of be a little fancy here. And the reason is because it's caviar. You gotta be fancy with caviar. So this is salt and pepper. 2 parts salt to 1 part pepper. And I'm just gonna put that in the vinaigrette. It looks like a lot, but you gotta keep in mind the volume of the salad that we are seasoning here. So whisk that up. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Salt. And that's it. Yep, that's a simple vinaigrette. We've got garlic essence in here, extra virgin olive oil, vinegar, and lemon juice, salt and pepper. Now you can give it a taste to taste it to make sure you seasoned it well enough. Just be mindful that if you inhale while you are tasting it, you will get a nose full of vinegar, and could be unpleasant. Yeah, this is good. All right. So now we're going to take our vinaigrette and put it on our salad. Now, in the book, Afro Vegan, he says to let the salad rest for an hour at room temperature so the flavors can meld. And the flavors do meld if you do that. But then you have to wait an hour to eat. And that's just untenable. So, I'm just going to go ahead and take my salad and put it on some crackers and eat it. Now, here's where I say taste the salad now that you've got the vinaigrette on it, and see if you need to adjust the seasonings by adding a little bit more salt and pepper or more jalapeno or whatever you may think you want in there. But keep in mind what you're putting it on. If you're putting it on crackers like this, these are whole wheat crackers. Great as far as extra fiber in there, and these are already open because I've been snacking on them. They're kind of like frosted mini wheats, except not frosted and flat. And that may not be attractive to you, but they're actually pretty good. The only negative thing I can say about these crackers is they're kind of salty. So I'm gonna undersalt my caviar just a little bit because I'm putting it on these salty crackers. But if you were putting on something like I think this also would be very good on rye bread, like a rye toast. If you make toast points, so get your rye bread, toast it, cut it into triangles, and then serve your caviar on top of it. Then you might want to add a little bit more salt than you would if you were going to put it on crackers. So keep in mind what you're serving it on when you're seasoning it. Other than that, we're done. I mean, that was it. And this is really good. So you've got fiber from the crackers, whole wheat if you got whole wheat. You've got fiber from the beans, fiber from all the plants that we put in there, the tomatoes, the bell pepper, all the fiber. You got all the fiber. It's delicious. Fiber is associated with lower blood pressure and all kinds of other good things. And it's also delicious. So definitely give this recipe a try if you haven't already. And I will leave you alone so that you can eat it if you have just made it now with me. All right. Thanks for joining. Hit the bell and the subscribe button. And I'll see you next time, July 1st. I haven't decided what I'm making yet, but it's going to be good. So, see ya.